Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held on March 24th, 2026. Kisukukit. We acknowledge the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamakis, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleat First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Kanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleat and are members of Ktunaxa-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I will call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. and ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation that the agenda of the March 24th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And I will ask for a mover, a seconder for the following staff recommendation that the minutes of the March 10th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll now open the floor to public participation and invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. And a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. Speakers are asked to state their full name and community of residence.
Your Worship, first up is Brian Bell.
Hello, I'd like to. My name is.
Sorry, Brian.
Okay. My name is Brian Bell. I'm from Fernie. I built my house and raised my family on Dickon Road over the last 25 years. So I'm here to speak about the Dickon Road detour that's being proposed. And I'm hoping that the city will back our opposition to this decision. I think in an emergency, Dickon Road works well to reroute the highway, but for months on end over the busiest part of the season, it makes no sense at all for commuters, for kids. There's no shoulder on that road. The turnoff by the visitor center with 2 stop signs and a quick left and a right with semi-traffic, and the visitor center being full on all summer long, it just makes no sense. So I'm just urging the city to get behind that decision, to oppose that decision.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Is there anyone else in the gallery who would like to speak this evening? Yeah, please. Yep. And if you can state your name and your community of residence.
What do we got to press?
No, you're good.
Yeah, I'm Jack Carroll. I live on Dickon Road. I'm opposed to using it as the bypass. I don't know if it's been considered what the damage is going to be done to the road, that it's going to have to be resurfaced. The whole thing's going to need to be torn up. There's going to be 6 months of disruption, not only for the people who live on Dickon Road, but everybody who commutes from here to Sparwood. There's quite a bit of employment out there. And so not only that, but then all of the resurfacing of the road that's going to need to be done over the next year or more. So I'm opposed to it as well.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll be brief.
Oh, sorry, somebody beat you to it.
Hello, Council. My name is Pierre Allen, a Fernie resident. I've driven down Dickon Road quite a lot, and I'm wondering what the negative impacts of this long bypass would be on emergency service response for the residents that are all along Dickon Road. Even if an ambulance, police car, fire department vehicle wants to make their way with lights and siren, there's nowhere for the traffic to pull over. And there's going to be a lot of traffic, as others have said. So that's going to be an added cost to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Dr. Robinson?
I too am opposed to the Dickon Road detour.
Sorry, just for the record, if you could state your name and your community residence.
I'm Virginia Robinson and I am a 25-year resident of Fernie. I live off Dickon Road and I too am opposed to the detour that's proposed. And as a physician, it's mostly safety concerns. There's no lights on Dickon Road. And we have a lot of elderly people who walk there daily without a shoulder. And it's not an issue right now. We just take a wide berth. And there's also people coming home in the evening. But if you've ever cycled Dickon Road, once the sun has gone down, you realize it's pitch black and is a considerable safety concern for anyone who's on that road.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Russ Trand. I'm a almost 30-year resident of Fernie, but I do live off Dickon Road. I'm here as a part of a group of concerned residents regarding the proposed Highway 3 detour along Dickon Road. That's a matter before Council and Gary Walker's forthcoming presentation. To date, much of the discussion on this subject has focused on congestion and inconvenience. I'd like to raise what I believe is an even more serious concern. That would be emergency egress in the event of a wildfire. Fernie has a known history of wildfire risk, and prevailing winds are typically from the south. Under the current proposal, Highway 3 to the northeast of Fernie would be closed, effectively limiting evacuation to Dickon Road in a scenario where a wildfire approaches from that direction. Dickon Road is a constrained residential road and is not designed to function as a primary evacuation route, particularly while also carrying sustained highway traffic. Anticipated congestion, which I think will be very high, combined with the potential for collisions or other incidents could quickly block or severely restrict movement during an emergency of this type. This is not just a traffic issue, it's a public safety and emergency planning issue that directly places Fernie residents at risk. I'd ask Council to consider this carefully, provide a letter of support requesting that the Ministry maintain Highway 3 traffic within the highway corridor only during construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trent. Anyone else? Seeing none, anybody online indicated? Oh, thank you. With that, we'll move right into item 9.1, presentation from Gary Walker and the Dickon Road Safety Committee. Mr. Walker. Once you begin, you'll have 10 minutes and then council will ask questions.
Oops, I see the timer.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
My name's Gary Walker and I'm here representing well, actually it turned into a lot of people. It started as, this committee, we heard about this use of Dickon Road as a detour for 6 months, starting in May, although I understand it's been moved forward till June. And immediately there was this uproar. And so there was hurriedly this Dickon Road Safety Committee put together, but it mushroomed from there. We put out a petition and in a matter of a few days, there was over 1,200 signatures on it. We had to cut it off because we wanted to send it to you and we wanted to send it to Mike Farnworth and Pete Davis, the MLA, to try and have this thing reconsidered. So I'm representing all those people. That's why I'm here. And so already some of the concerns have been mentioned about safety and it on the face of it, it sounds like it's Dickon Road residents, but really the concern is it comes from primarily people, the businesses that live or that conduct business out in the industrial subdivision off of Dickon Road, and the businesses along Dickon Road, and the people commuting to work in Fernie, and the people that live in Fernie that commute to work in Sparwood. And I've just looked at the Ministry of Transportation and Transit has a website, and they have their numbers up there of the traffic counts. And just, looking at those and trying to figure out numbers, the local traffic, and by that I mean commuters, I know people that go back and forth to Sparwood to the daycare center, and so they're going there 4 times. The numbers appear to me to be between 3,000 and 5,000 vehicles of local traffic. And so the Ministry of Transportation is, and I only hear this stuff secondhand because we have no status. We rely on, we as a group have gone to the regional district of the East Kootenays and asked them to bring forth a letter, and they've elected to do that, unanimously opposing the use of Dickon Road as a bypass. But we also wrote to the Chamber of Commerce and to you, and we've written to, we had a letter writing campaign that went to Pete Davis, our MLA, but also with copies to Mike Farnworth and to the local Ministry of Transportation offices. So we've done all that, and we are now asking that the city of Fernie get involved and try and stop this from happening for all of the reasons that have been brought forward, but also because my understanding, and I've only heard this secondhand, that the numbers that are being brought forward by the ministry, they've hired McElhaney to do some traffic counts for them. But my understanding is they're talking about 5,000 vehicles a day on average, which is true or close to true, if the traffic counts are done at the Crow's Nest Pass. They have a permanent count station up there, and it's taken throughout the course of the year. But the traffic counts that were done down at the North Fernie Bridge were like almost 16,000 per day. And that's their summer. They're using that as their summer peak traffic count. And it was done in September 22nd and 23rd. They did 2 days, and they did it on a Tuesday and Wednesday. And at that time, the counts were almost 16,000. I think 15,773 or something like that. So and I know this has been discussed. There was that the city of Fernie representatives, I don't know if that was you, Mr. Mayor, or if it was, I'm not sure who went, but there was a meeting where they met with representatives from the Ministry of Transportation. I know that you were there, right? You were there. And so I know those discussions have been held, but when I talked to the people that were meeting there, nobody has they've just said, the ministry says, we're going forward with this. It's the bureaucratic level. We're going forward with this. We've done the analysis. We've had McElhaney. Our engineers have told us that it's all going to work. But we know, the people that live there, and I'm sure, that there's gridlock in and out of Fernie on summer weekends. It's just undoable. And the fact that the road is so narrow and there's no shoulders, the kids that go back and forth to school on bicycles, we see them every day. It just seems like, I don't know how they would get those big trucks. By the way, the 23% of the traffic, according to the Ministry of Transportation's own numbers, are more than 6 meters long. So these are transport trucks. So I think it's undoable. And so our ask is this. We're asking that the city of Fernie vigorously contest that decision from a safety point of view, from a congestion point of view, on behalf of the people of Fernie. I'm not asking on behalf of the people that live on the road, because the RDK has already done that. So vigorously oppose it. And secondly, to examine, I don't know how you can go about doing this, but like I said, we have no status. We don't have an in to be able to talk to the people at the ministry about the numbers, but examine the numbers and see where they are coming up with this 5,000 vehicles per day count. And then they're basing the whole detour decision on that kind of traffic load. Is just not realistic. So that's the second part of the ask, is that be looked at. And your voice, the city of Fernie's voice, I think may carry some weight. I'm hoping that it carries enough weight to help turn this thing around. I know it's not your decision to make whether or not this be done, but are there any questions about what I've said thus far?
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I appreciate that. Council, questions?
I have 2 minutes left.
You do. Have you received any, like, sorry, Mr. Walker, have you communicated, you've communicated formally with Ministry of Transportation and Transit, with the minister, with the regional district, and now with us? Have you received any formal responses from any of those organizations?
From the RDK,
Yep.
we have.
Yeah.
We got a phone call today from the Chamber of Commerce. Just personally to me, to discuss it, but they have yet to make a decision on what route they're going to take. They don't like the idea. But I haven't heard from any politicians. I know that Pete Davis has recently suffered a stroke. And so, and I know that he too is going to bat for this opposition. So I know that's happening. He's somewhat compromised.
Sorry, has he confirmed that with you? I'm not doubting you, but
Yes.
because I know he's back in the office and, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I received a copy of the letter that you sent to the ministry. You have to direct your questions through the mayor.
Yeah, at the podium, Mr. Bell. But I won't ask you to repeat yourself, so thank you. And
Sorry, what was the question?
no, that was the question. Had you received any correspondence from and responses from your entreaties to others?
Just that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just that from the ministry or from Pete Davis's office.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a letter. There was a letter that was circulated. I have a copy of his letter.
Can you share that with the city? Would you forward that to us?
Sorry?
Would you forward that to us?
I will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Audie Kelly.
Your worship, MLA Davis, it does have some stuff on his social media posts as well, his official MLA
Thank you.
post.
Thank you. Other questions from, sorry, missed your opportunity to speak at the public participation period, so.
Maybe I can't tell you that, okay?
Well, you can, please, through Mr. Walker, you can.
I received an email from the two people who gave me one with that, SI. You gave me the email of two people. One, I think, was Rachel somebody, and that other one, SIR or something. Anyways, I received two emails from them, and they're both looking into it.
Good.
I got the emails from you, and I did write down, sorry, Gary, but I have gotten two, and I have got an answer back from Thomas.
Oh, yeah. From because there was a letter writing campaign. So some people have written and received letters back from, as a result of that. I'm thinking that's what happened with Heather. Yeah. And probably with Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Just to confirm, we have met with, I'll call them the field team from MOTT from the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. But I'll turn to staff because we've had subsequent meetings, I understand, with them, including with the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Fernie present. So if Mr. Boranowski, can you summarize that conversation?
Certainly, Your Worship. Sir, we, at the request of our community partners, the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Fernie organized with the project lead a meeting where they could present the project as it stands to the Chamber and Tourism Fernie, and then hear the concerns directly from Tourism Fernie and the Chamber, just to start off that specific engagement with those two groups, because they do formally represent a large group of stakeholders. That meeting happened. We had largely what I would say is the general preview. My sense from that meeting is that this has gotten out before they've finalized their plans or issued their RFPs or hired someone to do the job who would be responsible for traffic control. But my sense also is that they are not putting efforts towards looking at a solution that isn't a bypass along Dickon Road. And so encouraged ongoing follow-up specifically from Tourism Fernie and the Chamber, especially because they work day in, day out right at that intersection and are intimately familiar with both the business stakeholder and the visitor needs there. And then knowing that the residents have been very active, would like as the city also to stay engaged with the team at the staff level at least. But that's where we left that, was further follow-up from the Chamber and Tourism Fernie directly with that team.
Thank you. I wonder, it occurs to me if there's an opportunity, and I, not discounting your request, Mr. Walker, if there's an opportunity to get that team here to present to council so that council collectively can hear from them and the community can hear their position and their planning. Is that a reasonable request? And can we do that in a timely manner such that, because Mr. Walker, you indicated it was supposed to start in June?
The latest information I have is that it's been moved forward till June. Although I also have heard all this small town, so I've also heard the contractor's in town now. He's here, or he's looking to and these are, this is all secondhand information.
Fair enough. And that's why I'm thinking it would be nice if we could collectively get some firsthand information by having them here and then create that dialogue.
It's a great idea.
With the community, in front of the community, so that they can hear directly from the concerned residents and we can hear what they're planning, how advanced their planning is. And to your point, where is a contractor hiding in the bushes here somewhere? I don't know.
Well, no, I don't think he's hiding. He's front and center. But what's really important is that we have, I guess, an objective look at what the actual traffic numbers are, because, the engineers don't live here. Either they don't live here or they, haven't, because there's gridlock. We know that on both sides of the town, and to try and drive all that stuff down Dickon Road with those big trucks going in, there's 83 driveways, residential driveways that front onto Dickon Road. So like, if you have to turn into a driveway, then you have to stop all the traffic. If it's a left turn, you've got to stop all the traffic to make that left turn. And what left turns are like when it's like that. It's like, I just don't see how it can work.
Well, and, I'll be perfectly honest with you, Mr. Walker, like there's a suite of projects they're proposing. Not just the Hartley Creek Bridge, but there's paving through the city of Fernie, and they all feel like they all line up. And we've all been in a circumstance where they've started bridge repairs on a Friday before a long weekend, and the traffic is backed up beyond Dickon Road and on Dickon Road. So yeah, I'd like to understand the mitigation plan for this and have them here so we can collectively have that dialogue with them if that's satisfactory.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Can I get would somebody create a motion to that effect, that we ask for a formal extend a formal invitation to have Ministry of Transportation and Transit present to Fernie City Council to help us understand the scope of this project and the additional projects planned for summer of 2026. Moved by Councillor Shoesmith. Seconder, Councillor Reminis.
I guess the one, I guess, I don't know if it's a concern, but what I'd worry about that a bit is that, you know, they send the bureaucrat here to the engineer to tell you, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. Rather than, you know, this is what we're basing it on, and having that examined in a critical sort of objective way. I'm concerned that the information they're basing this on is erroneous. It's not legitimate stuff. And it's easy, and it's not rocket science. It's not that hard. We can look at it. You know, I can look at it, and I'm not an engineer, a traffic engineer. So, and the numbers are out there. They're published. You know, they're online. So we can look at it now and except that they were done in September instead of June. I'd like to know more about how they're making this decision, and before they decide, okay, we're going ahead with this and this is why, there's an opportunity to turn it around. It needs to be vigorously contested because it just is dangerous.
Yeah, no, we certainly appreciate that perspective. Councillor Adia Kelly and then Councillor McIsaac.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Walker, you said the numbers are published from their study.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Walker. I just wanted to make sure. CAO, would ICBC also have numbers like that? No?
Typically, they just have accident numbers.
Yeah, typically accident numbers, and increasingly we're finding there's some pretty big gaps between what we know has happened and what ICBC has as numbers. It's not a perfect match.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Bishop. This is not what I was going to ask, but just thinking about getting traffic numbers and how difficult it has been, even with regards to the Provincial Park intersection, getting realistic traffic numbers from them has been sparse. The comment I was going to make, Your Worship, was I feel, as someone who's driven Dickon Road many, many times, and the input from the community and so on, at this point, I would like to support the opposition to running the bypass through there. My concern about writing a letter for come and present and give us information suggests that we're actually open to the idea, and you just have to come and convince us, which I'm not sure if that's actually the correct message. So I would rather communicate our opposition to it, and then if they choose who want to come here and explain, and one of the I would welcome them to come and explain, for the simple reason that it is my understanding that they have considered several other options and then they have settled on this one. It would be worth understanding why the other options perhaps were not possible. And that may be the case, but we don't know. But at the moment, it's not that I don't want to communicate with them, but I do think that it's important to communicate fairly strongly that there is a significant level of concern in the community, and that road is really not applicable to the type of highway traffic that we all are familiar with in the summertime. This does not seem like a good solution.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that perspective, and I think we can accomplish both by, and I'll just ask you to hold that thought, because we have a motion on the floor that likely we should defeat and then amend such that if we're in agreement that there is strong opposition from the city of Fernie, coupled with a request to come and explain the project to the, so achieving both things at once is essentially what I'm suggesting. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. If that's the case, then what I would propose is amending the letter to highlight the concern and opposition, and including as more of a footnote the suggestion that we would be interested if they'd be interested in coming and speaking to us about it. Okay. But making the tone and tenor more specific to opposition.
Fair. So would the mover support that amendment?
Yes.
And the seconder? Yeah. So I'll turn to our corporate officer if you can incorporate that. Do you want a moment? Okay. we'll take a 2-minute recess while we craft that resolution.
Thank you very much.
Whenever you're ready, Ms. Fetzko. Mr. Allen, could you? Oh, they don't want to hear your resolution.
Your worship and council, the staff recommendation is that, not staff recommendation, the recommendation is that council communicate their strong opposition to the detour through Dickon Road to the ministry and project team, and request that the ministry present to council on the projects through the corridor for the season.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who attended this evening for this issue. You can stick around if you like, but you're also welcome. You're also welcome to go. Okay, that brings us forward to item 10.1, the adoption of the records management bylaw. And the following, a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation, that the records management program bylaw number 2547/2026 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation, that the municipal ticket information bylaw number 2041, amendment bylaw number 2545/2026 be adopted. Moved by Counselor Shoesmith, seconded by Counselor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to item 10.3, 5-year financial plan, a report from our Director of Finance.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. Evening, Council, Gallery. It's identical slideshow to last week, so I will be brief. Bringing back the budget bylaw for Council's consideration of third reading tonight. This is the schedule, today being March 24th, third reading, adoption ultimately scheduled for April 14th. As a reminder for Council, these are the 7 budget policies and guidelines that were approved by Council on November 12th, 2025, and shown to Council at every meeting since then. We have gone through each of these in detail in previous budget meetings, namely the February 20th, if anyone watching online is interested. Also in November, staff presented to Council what we thought our biggest constraints are, assuming a continued level of resources and staffing in our growing community. The first 2 on this list, Council assigned resources to already, the additional staff in building inspection and development engineering, and then the additional water operator and contribution to water and sewer reserves. The 3rd and 4th items were optional items for Council to consider a few weeks ago. And then the 5th item was deferred to 2027 while we onboard new staff in the Engineering and Public Works Department from the first 2 steps above. So given those guidelines and constraints, this slide was our initial shortfall in February 20th, assuming a continued level of service and from Council's direction on the first 2 points on the previous slide. Again, green here is good, red is bad. The initial shortfall was just under 414,000. And then a couple of weeks ago, Council went through each of the optional additional items on this slide one by one. The item colored red was not advanced by Council at this time. So on here were some increases to annual operating funding to the library, museum, and the other 3 community partners. A 3-year commitment to the Chamber to fund economic development services, excuse me. Over $150,000 of additional savings to reserves, additional staffing and contract capacity to address the 3rd and 4th constraints shown on a previous slide, and then an assessment on the arena vibration and or noise. Oh, and then some savings from the change in management structure in the Engineering and Public Works Department.
Sorry, Mr. Burdett, Councilor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. Just with regards to this slide, not specifically germane to the budget because we've already communicated about it, but tangentially, there was discussion about the FTA core funding the night, a pretty extensive conversation about it. And I'm just wondering if there is a plan for the discussion about FTA funding to return to the table at some point and consider other funding opportunities, whether that's, MRDT or MI or any of those other non-taxation based funding things. And I'm just wondering if that is going to come back to the table or if we need to ask for that to come back to the table.
Mr. Burdett or Mr. Baranowski?
We don't have a formal structured plan to do so, but we are meeting with the FTA on a number of partnered initiatives and proposed initiatives over the coming months. So I anticipate that what we'll have is a whole series of discussions on scoping what our participation in some sort of holistic approach is. And we'll bring that back to Council, certainly.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then this is the shortfall slide again with those additional items included as directed by Council a couple of weeks ago, which brings the shortfall to just under 686,000, which equates to a 6.68% property tax increase. And then finally, these next few slides are the table in the bylaw as it's presented in your package for third reading. So this is the revenue slide, which includes that 6.68% tax increase. This is the expenses, which includes the increases, as I previously explained a couple slides ago. And then this last slide that makes up the financial plan bylaw is our transfers to and from reserves, interest and debt payments, and capital expenditures. So this includes the increased amount to reserves. And so finally, a reminder for Council that at the April 14th Council meeting, following tonight's successful third reading, staff will bring back the financial plan bylaw for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burdett. Questions, comments from council? With that, I will read the recommendation that the 5-year financial plan 2026 to 2030 bylaw number 2547 2026 be given third reading. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Item 11.1, Fernie Golf Club floodplain exemption bylaw. A report from our manager of planning, Mr. Similini. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. One of the challenges with using a template is all of the thumbnails look the same when you're trying to bring the presentation up on the screen. The Fernie Golf Club is currently undertaking the beginning steps of a project to interesting. Just a minute, Your Worship.
Okay.
Thank you. Now I get the thumbnail challenge again. Apologies, Your Worship. It looks like that would be the right presentation. Perfect. The Fernie Golf Club is proposing to change their configuration of their watering system to remove the need for city water. So the water source would be an independent water license from the Elk River. And in order to do that, a pump house is needed. As you see on the slide there, it's on the south end of the pond that is adjacent to the current groundskeeper's shop off of 6th Avenue or the Great Northern Right-of-Way. Our floodplain management bylaw currently has language that says if you are within the Elk River floodway, that you can't get a development permit or a building permit for anything within that area. In this case, the property is within the Elk River floodway, as is the golf course itself. So the request is to get an exemption to that floodplain management bylaw. Under the Local Government Act, if you would like an exemption to a floodplain management bylaw, you can either be one, consistent with the provincial guidelines. this is not. However, you can get a report from a qualified registered professional, which is what we have with this application. The qualified registered professional report notes that the proposed development is safe, given that certain conditions are met. So tonight, we are recommending that council move forward with that exemption, and then again, note that those conditions need to be met. Conditions include that the pump house being proposed is built to flood construction level, and that certain construction guidelines are followed. Nothing extremely out of the ordinary, but things like site prep and structural fill being used, proper drainage, things that would be common in the floodplain. So that brings me to the recommendation. My presentation was shorter than me getting my presentation ready. But we are recommending that council approve the floodplain exemption tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Simulini. Questions from council? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Do we have any indication on the timeline for the project, specifically what we're looking at for the golf course getting off of treated water to this?
Your worship, through to council, as I understand it, the golf course, unless there's been a recent update, the golf course is still waiting for their water license from the province to come in. So I'm unaware of the start date, but I believe that the proposed start date is 2025. Does that give me a nod?
Well, actually, they're in 2026.
Well, 2026, sorry, yeah, that's correct, yeah.
We're in about 13.5 months at this point in time. What we are hoping, we're moving with these steps in order to expedite the process so that we can get all of these preliminary approvals that we were going to. As we move past that, we have engaged an additional professional talking to on ground who provided the report for this exemption. And we're moving to structural engineering. We're having meetings. The reason we're attending here is because we're actually having a management tomorrow morning. We need to provide them with an update of where we're going. Our initial plans were to proceed with construction of the low water period time of the year, which was intended to be possibly in November and December. I'm sure the first part of which really net practice time to be initiated. Having said that, we're highly dependent on that water license, and with these steps moving forward, we can get the exemptions in, which then allows us for people to have the land from the next step. We can use that as supporting documentation. Go back to the province and say, where are you guys at? Like, we need to know that the community benefit is quite obvious, I think. You have an independent irrigation system. You know, our manager of operations is aware of the amount of dedicated potable water that is required for irrigation and the unsustainability and practicality moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen. It does. And yeah, I think it's universally accepted that getting off treated water is the right thing for all parties. So thank you for that. For those at home, we had a bit of a discourse in the background, but unofficial delegation. Although I will say, when I saw the registered professionals report directed to Mr. Jansen, I thought, well, that guy's kind of out of touch. But then it took me a moment to realize, no, it's not for the city. It was for the golf course. So, other questions from council? Councilor McIsaac.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'm generally supportive of this. I do have one curious question, and that is, should the golf course not be allowed to, like, should we turn this down and not allow them to build a pump house there? Is there another option for them to be able to do self-irrigation?
Your worship, through to council, I am unsure of that, the answer to that question. I think it would take further investigation. We can report back if you like.
Could you come to the microphone, Mr. Jansen?
Okay. Never mind. At any point, if there's a full report that was done in support of the water license application by McElhaney Engineering. In that report, there is always an option. It would conceivably consist of a multiple series of wells. And that's about the only way of doing it, which actually becomes quite impractical because we'd be using water table extraction from each one of those wells and spending multiple times of the amount as opposed to a single extraction source, which is the pump house and wet well project.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, that makes perfect sense.
And your worship, further to Mr. Jansen's summary, the wells themselves, if they're in the floodway, may require a similar exemption, depending on the infrastructure that needs to be installed.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Other questions, comments from council? Seeing none, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the lengthy recommendation. Do you have a glass of water?
Your worship and council, the staff recommendation is that council grant an exemption to floodplain management bylaw number 2348, 2018, section 7A to the Fernie Golf Club to allow for the issuance of development permits or building permits related to the construction of a wet well with pump house irrigation system in the Elk River floodway at the property legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 4588, Kootenay District Plan 1374, except one Parcel A Reference Plan 6171I, 2 parts included in Plans 17215, NEP 21661 and NEP 22947, and that the exemption be conditional on the project meeting the recommendations contained in the report titled Geotechnical Site Investigation Report revised January 28, 2026, proposed pump house Fernie Golf Club, Fernie, BC from Ground Tech Engineering Limited.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any further discussion? Well, all I'll say is I'm very hopeful that the Golf and Country Club gets the water license, because getting them off city water, I think, is in everybody's best interest. So I commend them for this effort, and I know it's not easy. It's a lot of paperwork, but thank you for the efforts. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Similini.
You're welcome, Your Worship.
Item 11.2, Managed Service Provider Agreement Renewal. A report from Manager Chown, our Business Systems Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This presentation is to request Council's authorization to renew the city's managed service provider agreement with Trinus Technologies. Through this presentation, I'll walk through the purpose of the request, provide brief background, highlight key considerations, including cost and risk, and conclude with staff's recommendation for Council's decision. Like I mentioned, this report is requesting Council's authorization to proceed with a 24-month renewal of the city's managed services provider agreement with Trinus Technologies. The purpose of the renewal is to ensure continuity of essential IT services that support daily municipal operations, including cybersecurity, system stability, and staff user support. Approval at this time ensures that there is no interruption in these services. The city relies on a managed services provider to support core IT operations, service delivery, and cybersecurity across the organization. Trinus Technologies is our current provider and has developed a strong understanding of the city's systems and infrastructure. As the agreement approached expiry, staff reviewed service performance, operational requirements, and the risks associated with a potential provider change. And that review confirmed that renewing with the existing provider is the most effective and efficient option for maintaining stable, secure IT services, as we do have several key projects underway with them right now. Renewing the agreement ensures continued uninterrupted IT and cybersecurity across the organization and avoids the operational security risks that do arise from the provider transition, like I mentioned. The renewal includes a 14% cost increase, which is from that 2-year time period, which again is primarily driven by organizational growth, licensing requirements, and increased data storage. And these costs have already been incorporated into the 2026 operating budget, and there are no impacts to staff levels or current service delivery model that we currently have with Trinus. So in conclusion, renewing the managed services provider agreement with Trinus Technologies for a further 24-month term represents a prudent and operationally sound decision for the city. It ensures continuity of our critical IT and cybersecurity services and aligns with council's strategic priorities, and it fits within the approved budget. For these reasons, staff recommends that council authorize the execution of the renewal agreement as I've outlined.
Thank you, Manager Town. Questions from council? Seeing none, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the. Councilor Ramanus, do you have a question?
I do have a question, Your Worship.
Okay.
Thank you. There was an awkward silence, so I did not know whether I can go ahead or not. I am in support of this, Your Worship. It's just that what I had spoken to in one of the previous opportunities we had to look at this particular file. Like in 2 years' time, if we were to go for an RFP for a different, or just go for an RFP, like what would be the trigger? Like would it be just because the service level from these particular vendor changes, or are we going to go for a cost improvement opportunity? Like what would be the trigger, or are we going to just continue with this on a rolling forward basis every 2 years, renewing with the same vendor?
It's based off of the purchasing policy that once our agreement is up, typically we're supposed to go to market. And so that's why at this point, just based off of the current workload that we have with this MSP, we don't want to go to market right now just because we have several key projects underway with them right now. And if we did go to RFP and ended up transitioning away from them, there would be a significant impact to us.
Further? Oh, Mr. Burdett.
And then to respond to your question about what the trigger would be, we would have a matrix of all those different variables that you described, price and level of service, and then we would weight them. I don't know how yet, but we would assign percentages to each, and then they would be scored, and then staff would recommend an option, but ultimately would be up to council at that time to approve a new contract.
Further?
I should have asked this before, Your Worship, like how satisfied are we with these guys right now?
I mean, I would say we're very happy with them currently. I mean, like I had mentioned, they support me every day with several things that come up, especially being a very small department that does support the entire organization. So I would say we're very happy with them, and they're when we say jump, they say hi, how high at this point. So they've been very supportive.
Councilor Audrey Kelly.
So just to recap, Manager, what we're essentially saying is it would do more negative to the organization to go to an RFP now than it will be to continue on, sort of as an exception, extend it, because it's more beneficial to the city, to the citizens.
Correct.
Thank you. With that, I will ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
Your Worship and Council, the staff recommendation is that Council direct staff to execute a 24-month managed service provider agreement renewal with the city's current IT and business systems managed service provider, Trinus Technologies.
Mover, Councilor Hamilton, seconded by Councilor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 11.3, curbside waste collection, award of services, a report from our project engineer. Engineer Line, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll just pull up my presentation. So I'm here tonight to obtain authorization to award the next contract for curbside waste collection services. This year, the city issued a request for proposals for our curbside program, which is the collection and transportation of garbage, recycling and organics from single-family and up to fourplex homes in the city to their designated disposal facilities, along with maintenance of said carts for a 5-year term, with the option, if we would like it, to extend for 1 additional year. The following items were included in this RFP to improve the program for this contract cycle. To streamline customer service, proponents are required to coordinate the requests from the community for new, repair, replacement, or removal of carts. The city's front counter staff had previously handled that requirement. The proponents are also to provide additional efforts to reduce contamination in all our waste streams by increasing inspection and resident education. For this type of work and included in the RFP, the city purposefully put the most emphasis on price and then equally weighted the qualifications and service delivery experience of the proponents as the evaluation criteria. 3 proposals were received. They were evaluated by myself, the manager of public works, and the manager of engineering. Our group formed a consensus to award the contract to SRP Projects Limited based on price and their experience with curbside collection from small municipalities in Alberta. SRP was established in 2022 to deliver municipal, commercial, and industrial waste management, along with environmental and earthwork services through central and southern Alberta. But this year, they are expanding to BC. While it is a new company established in 2022, the leadership team includes a director of solid waste, Mark Peterson, who has over 40 years of experience in residential and commercial curbside collection programs. So that is who we are awarding it to, rather than this very young company. For customer support, including bin replacements and repairs, SRP will provide a local phone number for our community. During collection, SRP will support the city's efforts to reduce contamination of waste streams by providing the following. If contamination is seen in the carts before they are picked up by the truck, the driver may not collect the contaminated material depending on how much they see, and will provide a cart tag educating the resident on the reason why. If contamination is seen when the cart is emptied into the truck hopper, the cart and the material be recorded for education or further action, and the property will be added to a hotspot list for pre-tipping inspection on the next collection to limit additional contamination. These actions will not alter or supersede our existing recycling contamination policy of education and fining. It's only going to support us and the community with further education.
Sorry, Engineer Line, Councilor Ramadas.
Thanks, Your Worship. Engineer, why are they so cheap? How are they so much more competitive compared to the others? Like, that's a remarkable 50% of the cost for others. I realize this gentleman has got extensive years of experience. Could it be that this could be too good to be true?
Well, if I may, it is a proposal and we can only see what they've given us on their proposal list. But the company did sign every line of the cost as if to, prove like, yes, I agree with what I'm signing. I'm agreeing with what I'm signing, because we also were questioning the difference. And that is why we really followed up with the references as well. For this RFP, we only asked for 2 references, but they provided 3 current references for SRP, who I followed up with, and references for Mark Peterson as a person for his work previous to his work with SRP. And I followed up with them as well.
Excellent.
All right. So speaking about financial things, to chat about financial changes, it's important to understand what goes into our monthly rate charge to users. This year, homes are charged $17.99 per month for curbside waste collection as per the waste regulation bylaw. This rate covers the cost for curbside collection services by the city's current contractor, reduced by the rebate paid to the city by Recycle BC for participating in that program, which the city passes straight on to users, and payback of extra costs spent in 2024. Those costs listed there are the double weekly collection of waste and organics for the first 3 months of the organics program, as well as final payback of the waste and recycle bins. The city has been recouping those costs over a couple years to limit the payback impact to residents. You'll notice it's quite a lean budget. There's no solid waste reserve that users pay into. In fact, any surplus would go into general reserves. With this new contract, the monthly charges for collection are much less. If the city continues to change the same rate to users for the remainder of 2026 and recoup all the remaining payback, which is about $18 per household, there will be a surplus of just under $100 per household, or approximately $223,000. This surplus generation would only occur this year. Next year, the monthly charge for curbside waste collection would be calculated to cover the cost of collection, including the Recycle BC rebate. So it's estimated for next year, the residents would be charged about $4.28 per month. Staff recommend council direct staff to allocate the surplus funds into the general capital reserve to support future solid waste initiatives. Staff could determine possible improvements for curbside using this budget to be considered by council. Things like replacement of part of our stock of animal-resistant garbage bins with bear-resistant bins. You'll recall, back in 2024, we purchased the organics carts that are bear-resistant, and they were $275 per cart. So this surplus doesn't allow us to replace everything, and that was 2024 prices, but we could perhaps replace 30% of our stock. We could advance other mitigation or education measures, focusing on animal attractants or using all your bins, reducing contamination in each waste stream. We could use the surplus to provide free curbside collection in 2027 and heavily discounted collection in 2028. In 2029, we'd have to actually reflect the cost of the service and would go to about $4.54 per month per household. Alternatively, council could direct staff to implement a mid-year curbside waste collection reduction instead of collecting the excess revenue. The city would alter the rates for the July and October quarterly bills. Instead of $17.99 per month, for the final 2 quarters of the year, the cost per month would be $1.36. This rate would clear the remaining amount to be recouped per household and cover the collection costs. With the 2026 increases to the water and wastewater fees, this mid-year solid waste rate reduction could provide some relief to curbside collection users. Homeowners that have already paid their full annual utility bill in 2026 would be offered credit on their 2027 utility bill or a refund if requested. With the new contract, the proponents may decide to alter the collection schedule and/or routes. Prior to their first collection of May, the proponent will evaluate our current collection schedule and review with the city. Should any changes occur, the proponent will be responsible to prepare and distribute notifications to the affected residents. Staff will update the city's website and social media and perhaps put out to newspaper regarding our new collector and provide details on the changes. With that, the following direction is requested. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Councillor Hamilton, then Councillor Rambas.
Thank you. If council does decide to go the route of maintaining the reserves, but we don't have we're putting the excess into reserves, but we don't have a specific solid waste reserve, how do we ensure that that reserve actually stays allocated for solid waste and doesn't get gobbled up into some other project?
Mr. Burdick?
Thanks, Councillor Hamilton. So our reserve funds are described through a separate bylaw. So we could, if council wanted, create like an environmental reserve to earmark this so that it's very clear. It would just require the bylaw to come back to council for amendment and readings. But at the time of this contract award, that's obviously not done in our current bylaw. So that's why the reserve is recommended as it is. And then if it stays in that reserve, it would just be tracked through future budget processes so that it doesn't get lost. And I reached out to a couple other municipalities when the results of this came in to see what they did. And, Invermere has a separate environmental reserve, and they budget intentionally a modest surplus for their waste collection for exactly this reason, future replacement of carts. And it's like Elkford also does this. So that was the thought process behind this recommendation tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Ramanus?
I had the exact same question, Your Worship. But since I have the mic with me, I just want to ask a further question. I know the bear-resistant bins and things related to human-wildlife interaction is going to come up pretty soon here. We are in that season now. So I would like to see some kind of a plan as to show us, what that future will look like if we were to access these funds to improve our garbage bins. Like, how would that look like? And can I expect some kind of a staff report to come to us sooner than later would be my question.
Engineer Line, can you speak to that or?
If I may, if council moves to request a report on what we should do with that, we would be happy to fulfill that.
Yeah, I had a similar question just as an observation, like if that money were set aside, for example, in an environmental reserve, it isn't enough, as you say, to replace all our animal resistant bins, but in neighborhoods where we see consistent or persistent animal interactions, maybe there is an opportunity to put some of those bins in the field in those circumstances. Just literally just a thought. I know we haven't done any analysis to that end. Thank you. Councilor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I think everyone's kind of touched on where I was going to go with this too, especially from Councilor Ramadas's original question and comment, and that is, I see a lot of value in retaining this thing and moving everybody to the new project for next year. If we are in a too good to be true situation, we still have the money. And so we have a fallback position. But I'd also very much like to be able to use some of this largesse to improve our, animal conflict issues. So putting that into general reserves and having it prepared should there be a problem, but also giving some direction to staff that we'd like to look at some improved opportunities. Your Worship, I think your comment about where we've had persistent challenges in some neighbors and so on, we could look at some new strategies. And this would be a nice bank of money that we could potentially direct at that. So that's where I would like to go with this.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you. Also in kind of that same vein of too good to be true of a contract, without having the actual contract in front of us, what's our recourse if the proponent becomes insolvent or if the actual service level does not meet the standards that we're expecting? What would be our process at that stage?
If I may, with this type of contract, we do hold, it's either a bond or a performance bond for the contractor to either be able to continue the service if they default or things like that. So that's standard on this type of work.
Thank you. Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. Procedurally, are we thinking of motioning a reserve fund also at this point, or are we waiting for the staff report to come back before we think of creating a new reserve, the environment reserve? Like, I'm just wondering aloud here.
Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to speak to that. While I think there's certainly some potential value in exploring a reserve like this for the future, Just to reiterate from beginning, it's nice to have that cushion there should we have a problem. And that's going to, if it's in general reserve, we have a lot more flexibility to be able to use that money in that particular problem than in a dedicated environmental
Yeah,
reserve.
and
So in the short term, I'd rather see it go that and then look at a special reserve if that's where we want to go later down the road.
yeah, I don't disagree. And I think in terms of reducing the shock to our citizens, if we have to make a change, and I'm not for a moment suggesting that this proponent is, will in any way be problematic. And I trust Engineer Line to manage this contract well, but yeah, if there is some unforeseen thing, reducing the shock to our community would be ideal in terms of keeping it in a general reserve. Councillor Ramirez.
I agree, Your Worship, to keep it general reserve and a cushion for future, and we'll take a decision in the future.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Adi Kelly.
I just wanted to commend staff on the really good work that they've done on this. It's
Agreed.
excellent. Thank you very much.
With that, I will turn to our corporate officer and ask to read the recommendation.
Your Worship and Council, the staff recommendation is that Council authorise staff to award the contract for curbside waste collection services to SRP Projects Limited for $7.76 per residence per month in 2026, with annual adjustments based on the Transport Consumer Price Index for British Columbia, and that Council authorise the Mayor and Corporate Officers to sign all documentation to execute the curbside waste collection services contract.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Adi Kelly. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And does that meet your needs, Engineer Line?
If I may, there's a second.
It's not in the agenda.
And the second staff recommendation is that Council authorise allocation of the remaining funds, being approximately $223,000 to the General Capital Reserve to support future solid waste initiatives.
Councillor Adi Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Line. Item 11.4, Elk Valley Society lease modification for the Pine Avenue project. A report from our CAO. Mr. Bornowski.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No presentation from me this evening. A very straightforward modification. Legal counsels for both parties identified that the start and completion dates of the lease that Council originally authorized needed to be amended to keep us on the right side of those agreements as we complete the security posting for the city, so we can issue the development servicing agreement and then the building permit, and they can properly break ground on the project. That's the long and short of it, Your Worship and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Bornowski. Any questions from Council? No. Oh, Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Ramirez, I apologize.
I was about to move you.
Okay. Well, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
The staff recommendation is that Council endorse the lease modification attached to your report and authorise the Mayor and Corporate Officer to execute the documents upon completion of the public notice period.
Moved by Councillor Ramirez, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? I will say it was very exciting to be part of that groundbreaking last week. Item 11.5, a report from our Acting Director of Corporate Services on licenses of occupation for downtown patios. Ms. Neal, welcome.
Good evening. One moment.
So close.
Good evening. Not me. Thank you. All right. This report, I'm before you this evening for the license of occupation for the downtown patios. This report is requesting council authorization to renew existing license of occupation agreements for downtown patios that operate on municipal lands. The previous agreements have expired and renewal is required for the 2026 through to 2028 seasons. This report also seeks direction regarding one proposed patio expansion for the northern bar and stage. Seasonal patios, just a bit of background, have been approved by council for many years and are regulated through policy as well as license of occupation agreements. Under the community charter, council has the authority to permit encroachments on municipal highways, and public notice is required before the agreements can be finalized. All patio agreements have reached the end of their 3-year term, so renewal is required, and the fees remain unchanged with $10 per square meter for the curbside patios and $12 per seat for flanking patios. For the particular expansion proposal that's before you as well this evening, this is just a brief visual of the previous northern bar and stage curbside patio and their dimensions, which were 32.24 square meters and included 27 seats. And they are proposing combining the previously owned Lunchbox, which is no longer at that location right now, combining those two patios, increasing it to 79.04 square meters and increasing it to 69 seats. If you can see in this sketch as well, there are like 2 entrance requirements and it meets all the design standards and meets the policy location as well as their safety requirements. Stafford.
Councilor McCusick.
Thank you, Worship. I don't recall ever seeing, but I'm sure there must be in the policy somewhere, specific size constraints for constructs going on the road. So
correct.
When the Lunchbox had theirs, so there were 2 separate ones, both of which were conforming. Now this new one, if it's a single one, it will no longer conform to that. So are we giving a variance on the size of the actual construct of the patio as well?
If I may, through your worship, you are correct that there are not size regulations within that policy. It includes like accessibility requirements, safety requirements, some like reflective strips as well as the railings. Pardon?
And railings.
And railings.
Yeah.
Yes. But no, there is no limitations on the size of the patio.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And that related question, sorry, Ms. Neal, that increased size still is encompassed by the frontage of the northern hotel. If you know what I mean, it's no longer than the existing business.
Yes, and the owners also own the adjacent,
What used to
no
be
longer
Lunchbox. Yeah.
Lunchbox.
Yeah.
And I guess the width of it hasn't changed, just the length of it has increased now to be 19 meters along the street.
Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith?
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. So I confess I haven't read the patio policy, just not top of mind for me, except when I'm drinking, but there's no stipulation on size other than just the frontage of the business? That seems, yeah, is there not like, there has to be like for depth and such, no? I mean, width out into the street was what I mean.
Mr. Simile?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment through to council. The actual size of the patios isn't limited, but the policy when it was first written was based on a parking report from Hallcrow for the downtown parking, and it suggested a total curb length per block that patios could be. Well, a business could have a patio of any size up to a certain amount of parking spots per block. So if you had a whole block full of restaurants, in theory, you couldn't have a whole block full of patios. You'd still need to have some curb space for parking, if that helps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Abbott?
Thanks, Your Worship. Don't go away, Manager. I have a further follow-up question if you wouldn't mind, Your Worship. Like in a theoretical situation, let's say the entire Second Ave is filled with restaurants. Everybody wants a patio and we approve it. Do we have enough parking to cover everyone?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramadas, the parking report, again, I believe it came out in the early 2010s. So, I mean, things have changed since then, but it did suggest that there was ample parking supply downtown. However, the report did talk about only a certain amount of, call it vertical block space per block should be used to save some parking on Second Avenue. So I'm not sure if the current policy has the same language that the original policy did, because if Council remembers, the policy was heavily amended during COVID, where it was exclusively a patio policy. And then it became more of an outdoor vending or a use of city space policy to help with social distancing and keeping businesses open and things like that during COVID. But again, if the policy no longer has that per meter or per block lineal meter requirement, in theory, yeah, council could approve a patios for an entire block, but it would obviously drastically reduce the amount of parking directly on Second Avenue. That being said, the capacity along Third Avenue, First Avenue, block over could likely handle a load, but we'd have to take a look at it as far as getting a study done.
Councillor Adia Kelly?
A couple of things, and probably Manager Similini, don't go away. It does seem a little bit strange that there isn't like a depth limit, just because of the driving lanes. And then is it certain types of businesses only? Because let's say I am the bookstore and I want to have a little seating area for people to sit and read books.
So it's
In traffic, but I mean, you're sitting and eating in traffic, like, I'm just speculating here, I'm curious.
Also a bit of wishful thinking, maybe. Councillor Similini, or Councillor, Manager Similini.
Through to council. Through to council, again, I'm very familiar with the older policy and not as familiar with the current one. But the older policy did speak, I believe this one does too, about a sidewalk width that needs to be maintained for passability in compliance with accessibility standards. And then that the patio could only go a certain distance out from the curb as well. So there was a total width, but there wasn't a total length of a patio, if that makes sense. So square footage is sort of open-ended, but the width is limited.
Mr. Boranowski?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to council, within the policy, I just note that there's also language specifically addressing where an in-street patio creates an unforeseen hazard or other safety issue that the City of Fernie reserves the right to impose additional requirements or order changes. We do retain control over addressing any issues that come up that weren't anticipated and addressed in the permitting process.
And if I may, Your Worship, the second part of Councillor Adia Kelly's question about having businesses, that's what the policy was amended to do, was to open it up to other businesses, retail businesses, although I don't think it was in the context of having seats as much as it was having product. And again, that was to do with COVID and allowing businesses to stay open during the pandemic.
Thank you. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. Just to take this back to the northern question where I was going with the whole question about the size is, while I think it's completely reasonable, considering the lunchbox had a spot there and the extension of the northern, doesn't seem unreasonable at all. I guess where I was going with my question is, and this stems to the idea of, should we have more restaurants out there? I wouldn't want to see the situation where a restaurant was able to monopolize the curbside space, not making space for other additional restaurants that come in later. And so I just want to make sure that within the policy, if we're granting an extension in size to the northern, that should other restaurants go, well, I've got room in front, I should expand mine too. And we could potentially be blocking out other potential opportunities there. So some sort of language that ensures that the non-monopolization of space or some sense of reasonableness that's added to that discussion, I think is important. Again, looking at where that space is, where the northern is, and then the medical can all that's it's unlikely to be a problem right there. But just thinking long-term, and I realize, council isn't a precedent-setting body in this particular decision, but if that's the message we're sending to the community, it'd be good to know that we've got some clarity around what's reasonable.
Which begs the question, when will this policy potentially come back to council for review?
I would say as directed by council.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And just further, because I don't want my language to be taken as restrictive for this, I love the patios downtown. I think they're a great addition to the downtown area, and I certainly wouldn't want to throw up any roadblocks to prevent businesses down there doing it, just in the interest of fairness.
Yeah, understood. Councillor Shoesmith.
Are we through the presentation or, because I'll wait till the end of the presentation if we're not
Pardon?
through it.
Are we through your presentation?
Yeah, the last slide just had the resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As well as the second decision about the northern specifically.
So just to clarify, thank you, Mayor Milligan. Just, we do have an off ramp here. If we block this off and it's like somehow the magic tipping point that ruins all Main Street by removing that parking spot, we can back out of this. We have that power, just to be clear.
If I may, through your worship, so this license of occupation agreement is for a 3-year term, which council could direct a different or shorter period. And with that, then we could also time a council review of this policy to bring back for revisions or amendments. And further to Mr. Simile's point, there was drastic changes during COVID and the health restrictions. So seeing what the previous policies included that maybe had more specifications could be considered in a policy review as well.
Thank you. Mr. Bornowski.
I just wanted to confirm for council, either the licensee or the city for any of these may terminate the license at any time without cause or reason upon provision of written notice, such notice effective 48 hours from the delivery of such written notice. So if something hits the fan or goes flying off a patio and council needs to hit a hard left, you have the ability to provide written cancellation of the license of occupation.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a good panic button, as it were. With that, I will ask our corporate officer to read the series of recommendations.
Okay. So the first staff recommendation is that council approve the license of occupation agreements, downtown patio agreements for use of portions of dedicated roadways for use as a curbside patio for a term of 3 years at a specified fee of $10 per square metre and $12 per seat for flanking patios for the following adjacent properties. 641 2nd Avenue, Soil Restaurant Groups, Inc., doing business as Loaf Italian Restaurant. 492 2nd Avenue to Rooftop Coffee Roasters Limited. 401 2nd Avenue to 636198 BC Limited, doing business as the Brick House. 301 2nd Avenue to Himalayan Spice Bistro Limited. 502 2nd Avenue Big Bang Bagels Limited, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the aforementioned license of occupation agreements upon completion of the public notice period.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Second staff recommendation is that council approve the license of occupation agreement, downtown patio agreements for use of portions of the city property located adjacent to 691 First Avenue for an outdoor patio to 0578097 BC Limited, doing business as the Funi Tap House, for a term of 3 years for a specified fee of $10 per square metre, provided the applicant has met design standard compliance, inclusive of prescribed railing and enclosure standards, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorised to execute the licence of occupation agreement upon completion of the public notice period.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. Finally,
Final staff recommendation is that council approve the curbside patio expansion for 0903727 BC Limited, doing business as the Northern Bar and Stage, to include 39.9 square metres of patio area located adjacent to 561A Second Avenue. And that council approve the license of occupation agreement, downtown patio agreement, for use of portions of dedicated roadway located adjacent to 561 and 561A Second Avenue for a curbside patio, reflecting the expansion to 39.9 square metres to 0903727 BC Limited, doing business as the Northern Bar and Stage, for a term of 3 years for a specified fee of $10 per square metre, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorised to execute the licence of occupation agreement upon completion of the public notice period.
If I may,
Councillor,
sorry to interrupt. I caught an error.
okay.
Apologies. The proposed expanded northern patio is 79.04 square meters. Sorry, my apologies. I had the previous square footage in there.
So what is that one for? It should be 79 square meters per
79.04. Apologies.
No, we haven't moved it, yeah.
79.04 square meters. I don't want to read it out.
No. Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? Councillor Ramirez?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just maybe a little pedantic, but I just want to know if someone were to purchase the now existing or the lunchbox unit, will the patio's occupancy move over to the new owner automatically, or it expires?
If I may, it wouldn't transfer.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Simulini?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and Director Neal is correct that it wouldn't transfer. And a little bit of a gray area because the Northern owns the entire building.
Yeah.
Right. So they could say to their tenant, this is our patio, right? But in other circumstances, in order to have a patio that goes beyond your business, you would need permission from the adjacent business. But I don't know if that would be the case here because again, the Northern owns the entire building.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. Did we have a mover and a seconder? We did, yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Neal. Reports from council members. I will start on my right with Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Couple things here. Just recently lost a pillar of the community. Mr. Yip, I believe, has passed. So condolences and so such. He was a really good dude. He'll be missed. And I've been attending the Downtown Business Working Group. I have the intention of sending a report to council when we've finished setting out all the sort of guardrails and all those sorts of preliminary type of things. But it's coming along quite well, and I think there'll definitely be a benefit to the town as this proceeds. I'm sure I'm missing something. That's all that's in my brain at the moment. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Councillor Ida Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Attended a excellent business banter and beer with the Chamber and the Quest at the Snow Creek Lodge, and as did Councillor Shoesmith. I am very much looking forward to the Tourism Fernie AGM coming up. Was very lovely to meet with Minister Green and her staff yesterday. I want to say that Engineer Line did an excellent job of going over the project with the minister, and I'm really glad that the weather was much nicer. And because we were talking about waste contract, there is a waste management workshop that's going to take place in Elkford on May 13th. And Clayton Lamb, the biologist, will be there, and some folks from Canmore that have done some work with human and wildlife conflict. And I also wanted to give a shout out to, because Councillor Nixon wasn't able to be here tonight, to Sam Goodison, who topped the podium throughout the world, which is pretty fabulous, and to Caleb Barnum, who also was, I believe, was he silver or gold medalist? He was like tops of the podium too. So congratulations to those two young athletes that are killing it on the world stage. Super really proud of them. And that's all I have for now. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. Youth Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I don't really have much to report. I was away all of last week, but I've really been enjoying not going to school. So that's kind of all I have to say.
Good for you. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I was busy trying to make some notes. I was completely unprepared for the director's report. It feels like, when was the last time we had one?
I know, it's been a while.
Yeah. So while I'm sure plenty has happened, I'll limit my comments to just three things. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the UBCM board, plenty of discussions at the board table, that most of them right now leading up to advocacy to minister will be attending in April on a distilled set of resolutions from last year. Last week was at AKBLG with the board meeting focusing on the upcoming convention with resolutions including the ones that council has put forward here and from around our surrounding Kootenay area. I did want to make a brief comment because this has been a long-standing issue for years about the recent changes to the Alberta hospitals accepting surgical references from physicians in the East Kootenays. This is something that's been worked on for years with lots of advocacy going back to the previous health minister and the current health minister. And I just want to say thank you for everybody that has chipped in on that. There's been local mayors have chipped in, the AKBLG board members have chipped in. We did lots of meetings with staff and ministers and so on. And it's been a lot of work, but and it's so gratifying to see this moving forward. It's going to mean such a difference for many of the people in our area for access to good medical care. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was I had an opportunity to attend my first library board meeting. I really enjoyed it. It was made clear to me that I'm no Kyle Hamilton, that's for sure, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's such a great institution in our community, and I was very pleased to be there. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ramirez?
Thanks, Your Worship. I was just busy this weekend pumping out water from my basement flooding event. It was it took a lot of my time last 2 days. I had to. I was supposed to attend the FDAC board meeting on March 12th, and for the reasons that I just described last time around, people just aren't sending me meeting invites, and I just miss it. And I have a busy day job. I couldn't catch on the appointment and I missed it. So if any FDAC board member is listening to what I'm saying, please send me Outlook meeting invites from here on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks since the last time we've had a chance to report, but I too was at the BBB up at Quest in 20 years of living in Fernie. That was the first time I've actually been into that shop. So I think that's probably more an embarrassing reflection on myself than anything. But it's a great shop, lots of great ski gear up there, and will definitely not be my last stop there. I too was at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Elk Valley Family Society project. I'm really looking forward to that project, getting some shovels in the ground and building more childcare facilities and accommodation housing facilities for our community. Yesterday afternoon, thankfully, the weather was quite pleasant when Minister Green came, and we went for a nice little stroll along the Coal Creek Dike project and Mountain View Subdivision Dike, and explained what that project was and how it's benefited our community. It's also fortunate timing that Coal Creek was not quite in full flood, but she certainly could see the benefits of reinforcing that dike wall and those bin walls. Was also last week in, I was going to say Trail, but the meeting actually got moved to Nelson. In Nelson for AKBLG board meeting. Looking forward to the upcoming conference in AGM and the resolutions debate, and as was previously alluded to, how those resolutions actually drive change in our region. And as Councillor McIsaac mentioned, the access to Alberta healthcare has been a recurring resolution there, and that repeated advocacy from the region is certainly what helped move the needle. So thank you to everybody over the last number of years who've been working on that. And then looking forward, I'm looking forward to the upcoming AGMs for Fernie Tourism, the Fernie Trails Alliance, and well, I know we will have another report between now and then, but also the Fernie Chamber. So,
thank you, Councillor. Just a couple of things I'll touch on that haven't been touched on already. I was invited to give a fireside chat at the Fernie Rotary last Wednesday, which is why I couldn't attend the Business Beer and Banter, and I really enjoyed that. Great service club doing great work in our community. And on Saturday, I attended the grand opening of the new Fernie childcare spaces in Max Turk, and that was also really pleased to see the work they've done there. It's beautiful, and yeah, really proud bunch of folks there doing great work for children in this community. And I had a great cupcake while I was there. With that, I will ask our corporate officer to read the resolution to close.
Staff recommendation is that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 92BI and 91C of the Community Charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or federal government, or both, or between a provincial government or federal government, or both, and a third party, and labour relations or employee relations.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor?